Hey guys, so in today's video, what I'm going to be talking about is this concept in chess called the Zugzwang, which effectively means in German to be forced to make a move that you don't want to make. Now, why is this relevant? Sometimes in chess, you might identify that your opponent is avoiding making a certain move, and if we can force our opponent to make that move, then their position will be much worse. Why am I showing you this position that we've sort of seen before, this single rook checkmate? Because if you remember correctly, the way we solved this was by taking away ranks one by one using the king and the rook in tandem with each other, and eventually pushing the opponent's king to the back rank, from which point we can then take away the final rank with checkmate. And the way we do that is by making sure that every time we check him from the side with this rook, that these three squares immediately in front of the king are covered. So in this position, for example, we can't checkmate because of the three squares that the black king could potentially move upwards to evade it. One of the squares actually isn't covered by our king, so he'll be able to escape. So what we typically do is we take away the second last rank, and then uh, after chasing the king for a while, we waste a move, and the king is then forced to either move into this checkmate because these three squares the opposition are taken, or alternatively he can run away, and again because there's limited space on the board, he will be forced to move into the opposition, and we will be able to get checkmate. uh, so what did we actually do here when we missed this move? We put our opponent in Zugzwang. So effectively we identified that our opponent's king doesn't want to move into this opposition, and then we made a move in this position we wasted, but we're not really wasting. We wasted a move because we know that our opponent in this position will eventually be forced to move into this opposition, and then we will get checkmate. So if you take that beginning position, actually, the one that I started with, if you actually identify that black's only options, if it was his move, were to move into this opposition or to move right, then we can actually, cognizant of that, take away the squares that he can move to on the right side by moving rook here, and then he'll be actually forced to move into the opposition because he's in Zugzwang. So he then moves into this opposition by going king c8, and then we can immediately checkmate after. Uh, this one's a bit different, obviously. What can we gather from white's position? We can gather that these two pawns are blocked, right? So they can't move because they can't take, and they can't move through opponent's pawns. What else? This rook is pinned, so the rook can't move because if it did move, which it legally can't, but if it did, then white would be putting his own king in check from the queen, right? So the rook can't move. The queen, it can move, but it actually only has one legal square, which is h3. And he obviously doesn't want to do that because if he does move his queen there, then we're going to capture with our pawn very easily. And what does that leave us with? It leaves us with the knight on g1, which can move. It's free to move. But that means that, of all of white's pieces, the only pieces that can move are the queen, which doesn't want to move, and the knight, which can move freely. So that means that if we want to force the queen to move, which we would want to do because then it will, we're going to be able to capture it. All we have to do is find a way to prevent the knight from moving. Now, you might be tempted to play queen e1, but this doesn't actually work because we are indeed pinning the knight in that position, but we are actually then going to be simultaneously losing the pin we have on this rook, right? So what do we do instead? We utilize this rook, and now the knight is pinned, the rook is pinned, the two pawns are blocked, and the queen is forced to move because white is in Zugzwang and he doesn't have an alternative move. And now we can immediately take the queen and checkmate after. Now that was a little introductory video to this concept, which I know is it's a bit more difficult or kind of strange in comparison to a lot of stuff we've looked at previously. But there is going to be a part 2 in this video where I discuss how to solve this exercise. And I also wanted to finish this video off by saying that if you want to try any of these exercises yourself, for example, you have an idea, like you thought that a certain move could have been made instead, and you're not sure why it wouldn't work, I would strongly encourage you to just load up this website, leadchess.org. go into the learn and practice section. You can find Zugzwang under one of the headings there, and you can also pop up this little analysis board and actually play with the position freely without the computer responding to any of your moves.